It's time to break stuff. This week we're talking all about demolition. But let's pause right there. I've got a huge beef with Demo Day. And so I made this video as a pitch to you to urge you to rethink how you do demolition with your renovation projects. We have this odd notion that Demolition Day is the day of reckoning for our homes. Get the protective gear, honey, and let's smash everything in sight. We need to remind ourselves that demolition isn't a permit to lose all inhibitions and treat our homes like our own personal rage room. So today we're talking all about demolition, what you need to consider before starting, and how you can make sure you have a successful demo that ends up paying you. Popular culture has given us the impression that we should feel like we've accomplished something great by completely mashing up the inside of our home. We also tend to believe that demolition is quick and painless and doesn't require much forethought. And honestly, we need to stop thinking this way. Don't get me wrong, grabbing a sledgehammer and busting through a wall with all that built up tension you may have been holding on to, like COVID cabin fever, social anxiety, or that weird nervous tic your partner can't stop doing, whatever has you raging inside, well, it feels pretty darn good to swing away at that. And you should still do that, but before you do, I want you to consider three things. Number one, over 23% of our landfills come from construction waste. That's right, if you think throwing out your garbage is bad for the environment, well, newsflash, your renovation project is one of the reasons why 30% of global greenhouse gas emissions come from the building sector. Number two, despite best efforts to recycle construction materials, only a tiny portion of construction waste actually gets diverted from landfills. And third, access to affordable housing is still a massive challenge in North America. And the reason that that's important is that while renovations might mean a new chapter for your home, it shouldn't mean that it's the last chapter for the products and materials you're parting with. Someone's trash can always be someone else's treasure. All right, so your renovation project is getting underway, and one of the first things on the list is unquestionably demolition. So what should you do first? Well, first, look for the low-hanging fruit. And what I mean by that is, has there been anything left behind that could easily be sold or given a new home? This means things like appliances, lighting fixtures, doors, hardware, cabinetry, old toilets, vanities, sinks, items that can easily be taken away that don't demand a lot of time for disassembly. In our house, the previous owners actually left quite a bit of items behind, including furniture. What blew me away was how some of the items were in such high demand that posting on social listing sites, we ended up in bidding wars, including who would pay us the most to come and disassemble and take away our old kitchen cabinets. If some items don't sell or can't be given away, there are also donation centers that will gladly accept some of these products and materials. That said, this first part of the demo project is also the one that ends up paying the most. Like literally, from products and materials left in our home, we were able to make almost $4,000 and counting. So if you're smart about it, this part of the demolition can help pay in part or in whole for the rest of the demolition. Now, once you've looked after the low-hanging fruit, look at the items that demand more of your time and attention to disassemble and that could have an extended lifespan. That includes things like baseboards, trim, flooring, decking, siding. And don't be afraid to be creative here. You may not have to disassemble all these things yourself. Post it on social listing sites to see if someone can come disassemble it for you and take it away. Now, you won't always be able to make money doing this. Sometimes it's better to just offer folks the opportunity to come take these materials at no cost. At the end of the day, it's still a win for everyone, including the planet. After you've done that, now is a good time to look at materials that you know will get smashed and destroyed. Now, check with your local waste management facilities to find out what they will accept or not accept for recycling. Now, recycling building materials is a huge opportunity that many cities in North America haven't yet tackled, but if you're lucky, you live in a municipality where things like roof shingles, plaster, metal, wood scraps are all recyclable. I once toured a demolition project in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where close to 95% of the old home materials was being recycled, so it's totally achievable. Unfortunately, in our city, we haven't done much on the building materials side when it comes to waste management. So we wanted to make sure that whatever was ending up at the landfill really could not make it anywhere else. One thing with our house was that we have these really nice, tall and thick, solid wood baseboards. They've been painted over a few times over the years, but that doesn't hide the beautiful wood that still remains underneath. So this was one part of the renovation where I challenged my contractor's advice and was adamant that these could be salvaged and brought back to life again. The jury's still out on that, as I'm slowly taking these down before the smashing demolition begins. All right, so once you've done all of this, hopefully you've been able to put some money back into your pockets and save some old materials from their last trip to the landfill. Now that you're ready for demolition time, here are 3 things to keep in mind before getting started. Number 1, be aware of potential hazardous materials before embarking on any demolition work. A good contractor can usually spot some of these harmful materials just by examining the age of the home and any previous renovations that were performed. Asbestos is one to watch out for, since it can be found in almost anything like drywall, insulation, tiles, pipe wrap, adhesive, cement, and the list goes on. But the list doesn't stop at asbestos. For this house, the risk of asbestos is actually very low and would only come from previous renovations. We did find some asbestos tile in the kitchen, which will be removed. My biggest concerns with hazardous materials in this house, especially one this age, was actually 2 things: arsenic and lead. Now let's pause for a moment in history here. Believe it or not, arsenic was commonly used in Victorian homes in the creation of wallpaper in the early to mid 19th century. At the time, there was a craze for the color green and other vibrant colors in hues which could be achieved by using copper arsenite, which, you guessed it, contains arsenic. The popularity of these colorful, often floral wallpapers meant that homeowners were exposing themselves to deadly amounts of arsenic on a daily basis. By the late 19th century, people caught on to this death on the walls, and use of arsenic was eventually phased out. But that didn't mean that all wallpaper containing arsenic was discarded. Now, as far as I could tell, there wasn't any wallpaper in this home, at least not hiding in plain sight. That was after removing a fireplace wall, we discovered what appeared to be original wallpaper with shiny green accents. I'm hoping this is the only instance of old wallpaper in the home, but in a case like this, where we'll be removing that wall anyway, testing the wallpaper for arsenic may not actually yield any real benefit other than knowing whether or not the wallpaper had arsenic. But know that there are test kits available out there, and even these fancy devices called XRF analyzers that can tell us more about what elements are actually present in these materials. Now, as for lead, this is one worry where an XRF analyzer would really come in handy, especially if you're planning to keep walls that have been around for decades, or in our case, centuries. Now, lead was found in paints in North America as late as 1978 in the US and 1990 in Canada. That's not that long ago. So chances are, if your home was built prior to those years, you have lead paint in your house. That said, this isn't something to be particularly alarmed about. Lead paint only becomes a hazard if it is chipping, flaking, crushed, or sanded into a fine dust. Otherwise, the risks from having lead paint on your walls, maybe underneath a few layers of paint, are reasonably low or non-existent. What that means for most renovation projects, though, is that it underscores just how important it is to wear protective equipment, which brings me to my next point. The most important thing you can do if you're demoing yourself is to protect yourself. Most importantly, get your ears, eyes, and nose protected. And honestly, we're all a bit guilty of being lazy at times and not taking that advice seriously, but this is something that you can do for your health and well-being that you really can't put a price on. So gear up, everybody. Lastly, take your time. Demolition does make for really good television, but only when you're certain there's nothing behind that wall. Think of demolition as deconstruction instead of a smash-happy free-for-all. All right, before we go, just a few things to mention on the dollars and cents side. Demolition tends to be an overlooked part of a renovation project from a cost perspective, because oftentimes this is something that homeowners end up taking on themselves in whole or in part. Now, whether you're involved in it or not, it's still a good idea to have a hearty budget for demolition, mostly because of the dump fees you'll run into at the dump. So keep in mind, the more products you sell, salvage, recycle, or reuse, the lower the cost of the demo. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. If you're embarking on a demo journey, we want to hear about it. Maybe you found out a cool way to cut back on waste to the landfill, or made a bunch of money from selling your old materials. Feel free to drop us a comment, and feel free to visit buildwithrise.com for all your sustainable home improvement needs. Thanks, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. For more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe by clicking the button below, and also check out buildwithrise.com, the only place to turn any home improvement project into a sustainable one.